Remember me?
I'd have to lose all the brain cells in my head before I forget something as fine as you.
You know I stay pimping the pros. Let's get it.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp when he tryna get this money for the rent, for the Cadillacs and gas money spent. We'll have a whole lot of bitches jumping shit.
Yo, it's your boy, Q Lewis, holding it down live from the 48205, and this is another episode of Pimpin' the Prose. All right, so this is our fourth episode in, so hopefully this isn't your first time listening, but if it is, I'll just give you a little background. Basically, what we're going to do is break down a poem that I've written, actually a few years ago. I'm going to tell you what inspired it, and then going to actually read the piece, obviously. Then after that, it's a few lines that I find that stick out. I'm going to give you a little explanation on how I came up with those lines. And tonight, our guest poet tonight is going to be Shad from the Shad versus Everybody podcast. It's funny because the poem essentially started off as comedy, but as I listened to it, though, it is some truth in some of the words because, you know, what we're going through with quarantine and everything. So it's going to be pretty dope. So make sure you hang out to the end to hear our guest poet today, which is Shad from the Shad versus Everybody podcast. Also, make sure you do check him out on eblockradio.com, and that's the Shad versus Everybody podcast. All right, so tonight I've got a piece that I've written a few years back, and it was inspired because of, you know, everything that was going on with police brutality, Black Lives Matter, and everything that was, you know, associated with that. You know, people losing their lives to police officers, and just a lot of crazy stories, and a lot of people getting away with things they definitely shouldn't have. So I wrote this poem a few years back, just reflecting on that. So that's what inspired it. The Black Lives Matter movement is what inspired this. So it is called Black Lives Matter. So I'm getting ready to jump off into that, and hope you like it. Black Lives Matter. Beaten to death, hanged in prisons, robbed of our very last breath. Plantations predicted from our past punishment seems to be prevalent futures untold, yet warned from the bowels of Jesus. Jamestown, where slaves come ashore, owned by he who translated stone tablets of Hebrews unbeknownst to even themselves. Centuries later, we still are confused, waiting, while a man sits 19 feet tall, enshrined as if his emancipation meant much more than pennies stamped with his likeness. In masses that won't respect my likeness, with my hands up when I can't breathe, if I have a hoodie on. Don't peer down your nose when I say our lives matter, unless you don't agree. Embedded in melanin deficient minds, portraits of Kunta etched into memory. Wild animals, blood dripping from teeth, cut on flesh, despair meat of freedom we might never see. Like promised land, Martin dreamed dearly despite his demise. We just want our lives to matter, and we must also confront the mirror, whose reflection reminds of self-hatred spawned by centuries of absent freedom, chaining ourselves with shackles shaped by our own mental captivity. We must also know that our lives matter. That's that piece, y'all. Yo, so, I mean, it's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff inside that poem. It's kind of just reflecting on, the Black Lives Matter movement and just where we are today. And it's crazy because what I'm hoping is that when these words are read again, maybe, hopefully centuries from now, because this is kind of my legacy. But when these words are read, sometime past, I hope that none of this is true at that point. And I can't say that it won't be, because it's amazing how we read so many old, verses and old poems and old stories. And it's just crazy how it's still true to this day. Like, how are black people still in the same position? Like, it's almost sickening. So I'm hopeful that, generations to come, if this, if my book is ever dug up out of the out of the earth somewhere and people are reading it, hopefully that, we're in a better place at that point. But real quick before we get to Shad's piece, I did want to point out actually the most significant line that I like from this piece, and it's kind of at the beginning, and it's where it says where are we at here? All right, so it says plantations predicted from our past punishment seems to be prevalent futures, untold, yet warned from the bowels of Jesus, Jamestown, where slaves come ashore. All right, so this is important because this is kind of where that transition during the transatlantic slave trade. So this is basically that transition from being stolen from Africa and being brought over to America. So that's where that reference to the bowels of Jesus, because apparently through some of the studies that I went through, the name of one of the slave ships was Jesus, and that's where that reference comes from. So it says, yet warned from the bowels of Jesus. So like on your way over, being brought over by slaves, like that was the warning that you were going into, something pretty terrible. And Jamestown obviously is one of the pickup points from where, the slave ships arrived and people began, being slaves from that point. So yeah, that's why that line is important, because I think that's the transition and kind of the pivotal point of the transatlantic slave trade. So that's one of the most important ones. But also too, just at the end, there's a couple of lines too that I wanted to point out and just kind of give you some feedback on that, something to take with you. So basically, at the end it says that we must also confront the mirror, whose reflection reminds of self-hatred spawned by centuries of absent freedom, chaining ourselves with shackles shaped by our own mental captivity. We must also know that our lives matter. And this is important because it's all about self-reflection, about being able to see where we are inside that problem as well. So just not to cast the blame on those who captured us or those who enslaved us, but to also look at what we can do to free ourselves. Because a lot of times we are in, as it said in the second to last line, mental captivity, which means that we haven't began to educate ourselves enough to break away from the mental chains that we've built for ourselves. So that's why, all those lines were pretty important. So I hope you enjoyed that piece, man. Something to think about. Black Lives Matter. Don't forget, if you want to send in your own piece and have it featured on our show, you can send your audio files to pimpintheprose@gmail.com. That's pimpintheprose@gmail.com. And you can get your poem featured on our show, which airs every Tuesday and Thursday night. So again, I hope you enjoyed that piece, and we're going to move on to our guest poet for tonight, which is Shad from the Shad versus Everybody podcast. And it's a poem about being quarantined. As I mentioned before, it was rooted in comedy, but as you listen to the words, a lot of it is true. So I hope you enjoy this and be intrigued enough to actually send your own work in as well, so that you can be featured on an episode coming up. And that's again every Tuesday and Thursday night. And it's available on Spotify, iTunes. I think that's probably about it right now, but we're trying to get to some other places. And of course on YouTube. And you can check out all the replays also at eblockradio.com, where you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and get alert every time we upload some content. So, and now it's time for our special guest. Take it away, Shad.
The name of this piece is Damn, I'm Stuck in That House by Shad Sterling. This is nice. This is a piece that I did not too long ago. Again, this piece is called Damn, I'm Stuck in the House. Hope you enjoy this piece. Damn, I'm stuck in the house. I'm stuck on the couch with nothing to do. Look at TV, but TV looking at you. There's no basketball on, no dazzling dunks. I'm sitting here stinking. So much funk. Where do I go? What can I say? I don't know when I will be out the house, not even in May. I cry myself to sleep. I don't know what to do. I'm looking in the mirror like, who the fuck is you? My hair is growing, but a nigga still bald. I called my dog, but shit, ain't shit to say. What can we do? What can we eat? I got this mask on my face as I go to sleep. That's the end of the piece.
And that was Shad with Damn, I'm Stuck in the House. Yo, I'm laughing a little bit because, like I said, it was comical, but at the end of the day, some of the thoughts provided in that piece are actually what people are going through right now, since we have been on lockdown because of, COVID-19. So definitely not a laughing matter, but I do understand how it can be a little consuming to be at home so often. And at this point, I think we're going to be locked down for probably another month after this. So definitely understand the feelings, and I am thankful for the somewhat comic relief. Again, shout out to Shad, and that's Shad from Shad versus Everybody podcast. Make sure you do check him out. But that's been our show today. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, and tune in next Tuesday for episode number 5. And again, if you do have your own work that you would like to have featured on the show, make sure that you do send your audio file to pimpintheprose@gmail.com. That's pimpintheprose@gmail.com. All right. Well, again, thanks for checking us out today, man. Also, do subscribe to our YouTube channel at eblockradio.com and get alerted every time we upload content from any of the shows. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, it's Friday morning at 10 a.m. Make sure you tune in to eblockradio.com for the Wake and Bake show in the morning with me, Monk Money, and Angry Man. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be talking about our top 3 cartoons growing up. So it's going to be a pretty interesting and fun conversation to get ready for the weekend. So, again, I want to thank everybody for checking us out. Make sure you do subscribe to everything and all of our podcasts. And we will see you next time. Till the next time, you already know what it is, man. It's Pimpin' the Prose. And it's your boy, Q Lewis, holding it down live from the 48205. Peace out, y'all.